interviewing some of the biggest names in the sport of hockey and leaving it all on the ice. It's time for the No Holding Back podcast. Here is your host, Ben Holden.
Hi again, everybody. Welcome to an all-new edition of No Holding Back. It's our hockey edition. Pleased to be joined by former Miami Redhawk and now member of the Tampa Bay Lightning, Blake Coleman. Blake, how are you, bud?
Doing well. How you doing? Thanks for having me on.
No problem. Thanks for doing this, man. It's good to catch up with you. It's only been 5 years, so I thought it was time. I need to track you and Corrali down and Zarnik and all the old crew, man, from Oxford back in the day, man. So it's good to spend. I would normally ask what you've been doing, but obviously I'm aware of you and your wife, Jordan, having a baby, Charlie. Congratulations. How's that going with the young daughter?
Yeah, thanks a lot. It's been good. It's a different lifestyle. But we're loving it. I think the best way to put it is we've gone from living in days to living in 3-hour segments and making the most of it though. And she's passing the time here a little quicker, which is nice because I think we'd be going a little bit crazy right now. But it's nice to get this time. I think it might catch up to me if we end up going on a little playoff adventure here and maybe away for a little bit. So I'm trying to enjoy it while I can.
Yeah, I mean, one of those. I think, and you tell me your opinion, but I think I know where you'll be with this. But there are many things that are blessings in disguise throughout this, and certainly having a child would be at the top of the list, man. Mine's a 19-year-old, soon to be sophomore, so that's got to be one of many things I would think for you in this time, right?
Yeah, no, it's been great. She's it's fun watching her grow, man. She's already getting bigger and starting to get a little personality, and obviously it's our first, so everything's new to us, and we're enjoying it. And and we talked a little before we got on, but we made the drive down to Texas because our families were going crazy not being around her, and so we got her around family now, and
that's good, man.
Getting to spend time.
Yeah, sorry about that. It's good. So what I like to do on these is kind of, take a little retrospective. And obviously for you had something else happen before we really get into that. And feel free. It's live. Don't worry. Just move around, whatever you got to do, bud. It's all good, man. So you get traded for the first time in your career. Walk us through that and what that process was like and what it means to you now and your family to have a new fresh start in Tampa.
Yeah, it's a crazy experience. I know obviously sports are a different world where you're not guaranteed to be where you are. I guess nowhere really is, but there's a lot of uncertainty. And fortunately, I actually had the experience of being traded in juniors. So I've actually had a little bit of experience with it. Both times were big surprises and big changes to my life, but worked out for the best the first time. So I'm expecting nothing different here. And it was one of those things where we weren't doing very well in Jersey, and we had a lot of pieces that we thought we were going to have a solid team this year, and it just it didn't work out for us. And fortunately, I was able to have some individual success in the down year, and really wasn't a lot of trade speculation around me. There were a lot of guys on our team that were getting a lot of rumors and looking to be moved, and it was kind of my understanding and my feeling that we were staying put. We had a pretty good setup there, and obviously we had the baby on the way, and she was 2 weeks out from giving birth when the trade went down. And but it was one of those things where if the price is right, they're going to pull the trigger, and they got a really good offer from Tampa. And the story itself is pretty wild, though. We had our father's trip. I hope it's not too windy out here, but we had our father's trip. My dad was in town.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so we had a home game. All the dads were going to go up in the suite, watch the game, and then we were going to go to St. Louis for a road game. Dads hop on the plane and come with you and go through the whole experience. So that was his first chance at a dad's trip, and of course, right when I walked in the rink for the first game with him, the GM's sitting there waiting on me and kind of gives me the old finger wag, and just never a normal or good thing. So I kind of walked around the corner, and he just kind of explained that something was in the works, and At this point of the day, though, he had no idea, one, if I was actually going to be, traded or where. So at this point, he just kind of said, we've got some really good offers. I think it's going to be to a contender in the East. You can thank me later and when you invite me to your cup party, but for now, I want you to go home and because the team had a game to play. So I just turned around, walked right out the door and went home. And for about 7 hours, it was just pure Twitter speculation of where me and my wife were going. And we heard all kinds of, boys are texting me, congrats on going to Boston. And, that fell through about 30 minutes later. And it was congrats, a reporter came out saying they're going to Colorado. So we were packing up, ready to go to Colorado. And then that fell through. And then, eventually the official call came in that we were traded to Tampa. And thankfully for me, that's somewhere my wife could get on board with. And we just made the quick decision to get her down there any way possible so we could have our daughter there and be together. Because obviously, after giving birth, you got to wait a certain period to travel and things like that. So it ended up being a huge blessing in disguise, obviously, with how hard New Jersey and New York have been hit with this whole virus thing. And obviously having a newborn around that would have been a little stressful. So it's, everything's for a reason. And we're enjoying the organization there. They've been first class to us and the guys there too. So it's been a whirlwind and it's still not over, but we're enjoying it and we're just trying to enjoy each day with Charlie.
That's awesome. Great story. Thanks for sharing that. And that's terrific. By the way, you frame up a hell of a shot, man. That's a great background you got behind you there, brother. The sky coming down. It couldn't be more
I got just up on the dock, just trying to enjoy this this is my fake summer, I guess you can call it.
Right, because no one has any clue, as to when you guys are going to play again, and I'm not going to speculate, and I don't expect you to do that either. So, it'll happen when it happens, and all of us as hockey fans, obviously yourself and your teammates included, are hoping that's sooner than later, but we know it's a process is the world we're living in now. So, Jon Cooper's a guy that you have a little bit of familiarity, I learned, doing a little research last night. I know you fairly well, but it's been a few years. So I had to catch up a little bit. So tell me about when you played against him in the USHL.
Yeah, so I played, I mentioned the trade. I was traded to Indiana from Tri-City my first year in the league. And it's one of those things where Indiana and Green Bay, we were kind of the top teams, and we just battled. Indy won it the year before I got there, and Green Bay was kind of on the rise with Coop. And I had Jeff Blashill as my coach. He's obviously the head coach in Detroit now, and he was in Western Michigan there for a bit, and and it was just those two were, they were great coaches. We had good teams. It was just a big rivalry. Coop's teams were just always tough, just real tough teams and hard-nosed, deep, hard to play against teams. And they knocked us out both years in the playoffs, actually. So never got the best of Coop there. And I guess what's the saying? If you can't beat him, join him. And now I got him on my side, and I'm getting to see how he runs his bench.
Yeah, and what a team to go to. A team that's been in the mix for the last really since he's been there. They've been in the mix, as you know, playing in the East with the Devils for the last 3 years, and a loaded team. Were you a Stamkos fan in your younger years?
Yeah, I've always loved Stammer. He's obviously a first world-class player, and watching him and Cooch and Eddie, these guys, especially on the power play, it's there's some pretty fun guys to watch, and it kind of drops your jaw even on the bench there. So it's fun to be a part of. They obviously it doesn't stop there. They got some crazy depth on that team, and it's they run a tight ship, and it's fun to be a part of. And winning games is always fun. It's what you're in the business for.
Absolutely. Well, you only played in 9 games, right? I had the math right on that.
I don't even. Yeah, is that right? Something like that.
I think that's what it was. Yeah. So you probably haven't even gotten used to your teammates yet, obviously, and then all this happened. So you'll have some catching up to do once you guys do resume, I presume.
Yeah. I got a little fortunate. I got traded right before their rookie party, so I met the boys out in Vegas.
Nice.
But so I got to know them a little bit there. Yeah.
That's awesome, man. That's terrific. So when I say the team name, the Dallas Alliance, what do you remember about that team, man?
I got a lot of good memories. That's where I spent most of my childhood. I spent like 5 or 6 years playing for that team, that organization. We were great. We were one of the first teams to move up from AA to AAA in Texas, and we were always in the national championship tournament. When we were in AA, we finished third, and then we moved up to the next tier and had some good contending teams. And a lot of good players. That's Stefan Nason that I played with in Jersey. We played together there. There's a handful of guys that have gone on to the next level, and I think they've changed their name and their organization a little bit since I was around 15 years ago. But it was kind of one of the first up and coming teams here, and a lot of successful players came out of it, which was unheard of coming out of Texas at the time.
Yeah, I remember when I first met you at Miami back 9 years ago. I want to say we're both getting old, man. But we talked a lot about that. And your first NHL goal came against Dallas. How sweet was that?
Yeah, that was it was even sweeter that it was 17 games in. It took me long enough, but that was cool. I actually trained with the Stars guys, their strength coach in the summers down here, and so I have a good relationship with their staff and a lot of their players. So that was a fun moment, getting congratulated by guys like Jamie Benn and guys that are on the bench. It's a good feeling when you're first coming into the league and you're getting some applause from guys like that. But more so my family's back home watching. Every friend that I have that ever played with me is watching. That was probably the most text messages I've gotten in one day. Well, maybe until the trade and stuff like that. But at the time, it was really cool. It was a fun moment. I had some friends at the game. It ended up leading me to my now wife. We connected through that goal. We had some mutual friends that were there, and long story short, they posted a photo of us on the ice with the goal puck, and me and her connected over social media. And anyway, so it ended up having even more meaning to it. But anytime you can score against your hometown team, it's pretty special.
That's pretty awesome, man. It's great to hear. And, obviously the 4 years that we dealt with each other and saw each other and all those things, always admired the way you played and the way you continue to play. Guys like you and Corrali, who I know you guys played together in junior hockey. And we need to get Sean on here. I'm going to reach out to him too and do a little Miami reunion in Zarnik too. But talk to me about that a little bit. Go back to you get traded, you're playing in Indiana. How did you ultimately decide Miami and Oxford, Ohio was where you wanted to go and further your career at the next level, Blake?
Yeah, it was kind of weird how it went down. I was in a midget tournament. I played a year in Detroit for a team called Bell Tire, which a lot of people in the hockey world would know. But I played a year there under Kyle Krug, Torrey Krug's dad, and we ended up going to a tournament in Miami, and we were 15-ish years old, I guess, and Miami was kind of really starting to turn it around. They just had built the new arena, and they were playing, I think, Nebraska Omaha, and just pounded them, maybe 7-1, and all the fans are giving those sex chants in the stands, and there's tons of girls running around in their mini skirts everywhere, and the business school had just been built, and there was just a ton to like about the school, and I fell in love with it on that trip. I was still a distant, I hadn't had any offers. I was still just, I was a good player, but I wasn't, one of the top guys, and still working my way. So it was just kind of a dream at the time. And fast forward a few years, I end up in Tri-City in the USHL, having a fairly good year. Nothing to, look back at, but good enough. And Miami came out to watch a game, and I think I had about 15 recorded hits that game and scored a goal. And, it's like, I've never played that well since then, I don't think. But it's Chris Bergeron, the head coach now, was actually the guy that recruited me. He was an assistant back then, and he had come out to watch. And, obviously I have a ton of respect for the way he recruited. He built that program and really helped put it on the map there with the guys that he brought in, and saw some value in me for whatever reason that other schools didn't see. And I was excited about the offer. I had a few others at that point finally from some other schools, but it was kind of a no-brainer for me to go to Miami. And obviously my roommate at the time, Cody Murphy, was also committed there already, and we were good friends, so that made it even more appealing. And that was it, man. I was excited to get to campus and start it up. And then, like you said, I ended up playing with some great players there. We had some really good teams. I'll go ahead and say it that we should have won the national championship our senior year, but it's just the way things went down. Didn't work out, but we had a 2.5-hour Zoom call last night with all the boys, so we were reliving it a little bit. Yeah, so that was a lot of fun.
Well, I hate to bring this up, but since you kind of went there, so your last game was the game we did, right? Because you didn't play in that game against Providence, right?
Yeah, the championship game of the NCHC was my final game.
And what, I mean, unfortunately, you couldn't play, but take me through that game, man. I watched some of the clips from that a couple nights ago. They were, the league, the NCHC has been doing stuff. You may or may not have seen it, but and one of the moments was that game. You were the outstanding player of the tournament. You had 3, and you scored them in 3. I mean, the one you batted down, I still don't know how the hell you did that. I saw the one you had with the Devils. You were falling down with one hand. It reminded me of that. What do you recall from that game when you guys were playing in the championship in 15?
Yeah, we couldn't get over the hump. We made it to the championship game the year before. I had actually missed almost maybe over half of that season with a collarbone injury, and came back. And I think we were the 8th seed, and we upset St. Cloud, went to the finals that year, and just couldn't quite get past Denver. And then our senior year, then the next year there, we played Denver in the semifinals this time, and got over that hump. Beat them there, and then we had St. Cloud in the finals, and it was just one of those teams that I just seemed to find my second gear against whenever it was, in St. Cloud at home. There's just always teams that you just seem to score against, and that was one of them. Thankfully, we found them in the finals, and like you said, a couple kind of crazy goals, but they still counted. And unfortunately, got a little too excited with a hit in the slot. Actually, it was a buddy of mine, Joey Raycamp, there, and just caught him up high and got tossed, probably rightfully so. And thankfully, the boys, held on, and we ended up getting the win there, and I got to still come out and celebrate. But not many guys can say they went out with a hat trick, a game ejection, and a championship as their final college game.
And did you ever watch that game back? Have you watched it back?
Yeah, I've seen it a couple times. I got somebody in Miami made me a little highlight reel of just kind of that game, and they put it together. But it's cool. And it's obviously a special memory that we all still share, and got to reminisce about last night. We're all still a little sour that things went down the way they did after that. But, that game against Providence was one of the best college hockey games I've ever watched.
Yeah, that was what I remember. I want to ask you about that. But before we get there, the biggest thing, the biggest thing I remember is how well you played, number one. And the second thing I remember was you in the corner. It was unbelievable drama and theater on television, man. You remember being on that ramp, you're in your uniform, our producer's like, we're going to Coleman again. We're showing Coleman, Benny. Talk it up, man. It was unbelievable drama, man. And it was great to see you guys get that one. And the Providence game, that was the play that Louis Belpedio made, right? When he dove, keep the puck out.
Yeah. I think we play with, 13 minutes left in the game, and scored three goals with our goalie out. Got up to within one, and then Corrali hit the post with about 30 seconds left, and then they ended up going down and scoring. But obviously Louis had a game-saving dive, and there was I think me and Barber were both out that game.
Yeah.
He got hurt in that championship game as well, and we went down to the locker. It was 5 or 6-2, and we went down to the locker, and we're just like, all right, well, what's next for us? And it sucks that this is the way it had to end. And then we kind of turned it on the TV, and we were watching. And then by the second and third goals, we're jumping up and down, hugging each other, and starting to feel like this is going to happen, and we're we're going to be back and playing. But it was an exciting game. Obviously, a tough way to go out, but fun to be a part of watching.
Yeah, as you we'll put a cap kind of on the Miami years. Looking back, I mean, you've obviously talked about some highlights you've had there, but what are some other things that you took away from those 4 years that you spent in Oxford?
It's just special, man. College hockey's it's a different beast. You know, it's 2 games a week, and that's all you're looking forward to all week. So it's electric weekends, and the games are intense, and you know, the friendships and the bond you build from all of the extra training you have to put in because all the time you have is special. And whether it's going out with the boys till 2 a.m. and then getting up at 6 to go run laps around the track and just building bonds that way, or whether it's, you know, we did all sorts of different challenges and different things that sucked at the time, and everyone's bitching and moaning, and but it's looking back, it's what you remember. It's special. It's what makes you a team. And you know, in the pro levels, it's just hard to get that time because you're playing 82 games and training camps, and it's just a different thing. You know, you can't have your buddies in your class come and check out the game on Friday and Saturday and meet you at the bar after a sweep or whatever. You know, it's a special thing, and it's a lot of good memories. And like I said, being able to hold a Zoom call with your buddies and see their lives now and what they're doing. They're all, you know, successful guys in the real world and doing different things. And, you know, whether it's still playing or in business or coaching or everybody's got their story. And it's certainly a bond that you build forever. And they've reached it at Miami. And, you know, it's why it's such a good school. And that's why guys want to go there.
Yeah. So again, doing a little reading in the last couple of days since you and I connected and we, you know, agreed to do this, I didn't know about the pickle juice, man. Did you ever tell us about that, or was that top secret when you were in college?
I kept that under wraps for a long time, but unfortunately,
I figured as much. Go ahead, tell us about that.
Unfortunately, you can't hide anything these days.
Yeah, right.
I think it was first game of the season. You know, for those who don't know, I drink it because I've always had an issue with cramping, which I dealt with pretty severely in college as well, and tried it all, man. Salts, Gatorlights, Gatorades, electrolyte, you know, you name it, I've tried it, and just couldn't find something that worked. And then it started in college. We were in Colorado Springs playing the Tigers there, and I want to say Politis or one of the guys had a jar of pickles and was drinking little shots of it and eating the pickles. And I was like, it's the nastiest thing I've ever seen. And offered me a sip because they knew I had cramps, and I gave it a shot. Kind of just, you know, whatever, I'll try anything. And didn't have any issues that whole game, which is unheard of for me at altitude. And tried it again the following night, same thing. And that was it. That became my thing. So I would go to the store and buy jars of pickles before the game and just sip out of the jar and took it with me to the NHL. And then one game started cramping up a little bit and asked a trainer to go grab the jar and took a penalty right after I did that. And so sure enough, my line mate comes skating across center ice with a jar of, you know, 365 pickles, hands it to me in the box, and I just take a big swig out of it, and cameras went off like crazy, and, you know, it just blew up from there and became a viral story. And then after that, fans were bringing me jars of pickles and half-eaten pickles, and I mean, you name it, I had it. And that's when we kind of were just like, maybe we just create our own thing here and make it a family deal. My sister's did graphic design. She works in graphic design and did the whole thing. So she did the labels and all the designs, and we made it fun, and we kind of just used it as a way to bond as family and create our own business. And it's been more of a fun thing, but we've also found a way to spin it into a charitable thing as well, and bringing kids to games and getting to have that experience with them. So it's a goofy thing, but it's turned into a really good thing, and it's helped some people, and obviously we've had a lot of fun in the process.
That's awesome, man. That's that was top secret because I don't think nobody knew that, obviously, and that's really cool to hear. Great what you're doing with the kids. What are the reactions of the kids? I mean, they're probably not. I mean, some might eat pickles, but what you get good reactions out of the kids when they try it, or what?
Yeah, I think they're more about just we have the little characters that we created and the shirts so they get kind of all wrapped up in that. And we had been we started with the Boys and Girls Club the first year, and we'd bring the kids to the game, and they'd get to, experience the game, come down, hang out with me afterwards, and sign some stuff up for them. And, they'd wear their little Pickles Pals shirts. And it was a good experience for them. Most of them had never seen a hockey game in their lives. And by the time I was done, they were loving it and wanted to go try on some skates. And so that was a cool experience. We ended up pivoting this year to, some kids that either had cancer or were really going through some tough things, and we were bringing them and their families. And this was all in Jersey before the trade there, but hopefully we can start it back up in Tampa. But we always, had a good time with that. And we try to get 6 to 8 games a year and make it special and make it fun. And like I said, it was a goofy thing, but it turned out to be a little bit of a blessing.
That's awesome. One last thing on it. Medically, how fast is it? Do you notice it in a certain amount of time, or does it take an hour? What is it? How does it work?
No, it's it's less than 5 minutes. I'll be cramping.
Really?
Oh yeah, I'll slug it down and I'm good to go for the next shift pretty much. So I don't know what it is. There's different camps. There's people that say the electrolytes there's just so many in there, but I don't know. There's another camp that thinks it's the taste, and you don't send the signals to your nerves to cramp. That's why people eat mustard packets. I don't know if you've heard of that, but there's all sorts of weird, quirky things. But this has been mine, and I've actually kind of learned to love the taste of pickle juice now. But at first, it was all just for the benefit.
Right. So you get to the American Hockey League, and obviously you went up, like any athlete I've talked to, whatever sport it is, each level is the speed is the biggest thing. Was that the biggest thing once you got to the American League, or were there other things, Blake, that you had to adjust to? Like you said earlier, obviously in college, playing 2 games a week.
Yeah, I mean, the speeds, I would say college is almost faster because it's just everybody's just guns out the whole game. Whereas, in the American League, you're still playing 72 to 76 games. And it's more just a battle of attrition. You need to be constantly putting the right things in your body and taking care of yourself. And, you can't get to Saturday night and say, oh, I got a week to get back to, being ready to go. It's 3 in a weekend, and then it's a Tuesday and a Thursday, so it's just doesn't stop. So it's, the guys that are real successful there have found ways to just make a routine and stick to it. And, the game itself is a little bit more structured, but that leap really comes to the, at the NHL level is where the structure really kicks in. But it's a tough league, man. And don't let anybody say it's not, because I played in it for a year and a half, and it's a battle. And maybe it is harder to play in that league than it is the NHL, because you don't have the amenities and the treatment that you're available at that level. But it's a big jump, but it's just your style of play can fit or it can't. Some people thrive in college and then get to the AHL and struggle for whatever reason. There's guys with opposite stories that maybe didn't put up a ton of points in college, and all of a sudden they get the pros and start scoring. And if you can play with a little bit more structure, that usually tends to favor you.
Yeah, you may or may not remember, I was in Lake Erie in the American League for 2 years before you and I met. And David Oliver, who's now an assistant with David Quinn in New York, was our GM. First bus trip we go on, I'm right across from him, second seat behind Quinny. And he kind of kicks my seat and he goes, hey, you're going to find out this is the hardest league in the world to play in. My reaction was this. About a month later, he wakes me up. I'm in a pretzel in both my seats. About 4 a.m., we roll into Rochester. And he goes, remember what I told you, Benny? I said, yeah. So I not as a player, obviously, as a broadcaster, I can relate, my friend. So it is a tough league. It is tough. And it's, there's you guys probably didn't fly at all being where you were. You were all bus, right?
Yeah, we were straight bus trips. So we got comfy on there.
See, I in hindsight, I wish I would have went to a team in the East, because the travel would have been a lot easier. But we had a pretty good in Cleveland. We had a great owner in Dan Gilbert. So I get that. So with that said, The moment you got called up, man, take me back to that. What stands out? What do you still remember from that when you got that first call up for the Devils?
Yeah, that's probably still the best day in my life. We were at the practice rink in Albany. It's one of those things you never know. Like, there was nothing really going down in the NHL level yet. It was still, I want to say early or mid-January. And, still a month away from the deadline. They were struggling a little bit, but showed up at the rink and just business as usual. Started going through our stretches, and then they came and pulled me away from the stretch and went into the coach's office. And it's Rick Kowalski at the time, who's now an assistant with New Jersey, but pulled me in, and he's an awesome guy, great coach, good friend. So he made it a special moment. He always does for guys, and just kind of explained. He's like, "Hey, you want to go play in the NHL and see what it's all about, or what?" And I'm just like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "You're going." He's like, "They're going to Western Canada. The plane leaves in 2 hours, and you need to be on it." And I was like, "What? A 2-hour drive?" He's like, "Get going." So that was it, man. I hopped in the car, called my parents. Obviously, an emotional call. Just the reaction, their voices, I'll never forget it. How excited and happy, and just, the way they felt. And that's what it's all about, being able to share that moment with them. And because it takes a village to get there. So it was a special day. I ended up getting to the plane just in time. All the boys waiting on me, just razzing me for being so late. But hop on the plane. Turns out there's a dent in the nose cone, whatever that meant. Sat on the tarmac for 4 hours before we went anywhere. Boys losing their mind. Just, this is the worst. Like, F this, F that. Let's go. Let's just go home. I'm sitting there. This is great. We got food on here. We got drinks. This is awesome. I don't care. I'll sit here all day.
No bus. You're on a plane. I get it. Where'd you go? Where were you guys headed? Where'd you start the trip on that embarkment?
Yeah, so that was the kickers. We were going to Edmonton. It's about a 5-hour flight on top of that. So it was about a 9-hour plane day. So I got real familiar with how the plane works. And but I was just so happy to be there. It didn't matter. And of course, now I think if that happened, I'd be right there with the rest of the crew complaining. But it was special. I played my first game there in Edmonton. My dad was able to fly out and meet me there, and then my mom and sister met me in Calgary on the second leg there, and then third game was Vancouver. Scored the game-winning goal with about 2 minutes left in the game in Van, third game, and then Vancouver challenges it. Taylor Hall had taken himself off sides, just him, 45 seconds earlier. It's irrelevant to the play, but it's that new rule had just been implemented, and I was like, how it goes. And then Halsey scores the game winner in OT, and she couldn't write that script any better. But it was cool. It was a great experience. I was up for 5 games that whole trip, and then 1 home game. And then they dealt some guys at the deadline and called up, and was there ever since.
And you've been an NHL guy ever since. That's awesome, man. Excuse me. I love hearing those stories, man. It's one of the things I really enjoyed in this time, that we're all in, is reconnecting with people like yourself and coaches and, players in different sports that I've gotten to know over the years. And it's so cool to hear that, man. And listen to you talk about it. I can feel it coming through the camera, man. It's awesome. And knowing you, the way you played, you mentioned St. Cloud earlier. I want to say it was your junior year when you had the collarbone, right?
Yep.
I think you came back in that. We did that game, and we weren't sure if you were playing. And our producer at the time, Andy Costco, who's been directing the Penguins for, I want to say Potts has been doing that for 5 years. He goes, "We're going with Coleman. He always plays well when we're here." And I think you scored twice in that game. What do you remember? Do you remember that or not? Or what do you recall from it?
Yeah, that's another one that sticks out. Another just very emotional game for me. I'd been out for 11 weeks with a collarbone rehabbing, and basically it's one of those things where it's 50-50 going into the weekend. Probably could have given it another week. We were in almost last place in the conference at that point, so there wasn't a whole lot to be coming back playing for. But that's just not really how my brain works and how I operate. So I wanted to be out there and compete and be back. I'd been working really hard to get back, so ultimately they left me the decision, and I wanted to play. So I remember coming back feeling, a little out of game shape, but scored a couple goals. The first one, a 2-on-1 that I still remember, and that feeling of coming back and scoring it's big time. And I remember how good I felt after that game. I sat in the cold tub for about 30 minutes, just reliving it in my head, and just happy to be back. And ultimately, I remember on Saturday it was the most miserable I've ever felt in the game. But we focused on Friday.
Yep.
That was
game at a time, right?
Yeah, exactly. So we won that first game 4-2, I think it was, and that was a big time moment for me. And then we ended up winning some games after that and playing pretty well down the stretch. Like I said, we made it the conference final, but that game definitely sticks out in my career.
Yeah, that's one I always remember too, man. I'm like, you sure, Potts? He's like, trust me, he's gonna have a big game. Not that I was doubting you, but I'm like, we don't even know if he's playing. But most of us that knew you, we knew you well enough at that point. Like you said, it's your mind. You want to get out there. You want to play. You're such a competitor, and that's obviously part of the reason why you're at where you're at now in your young NHL career. If I may, some of the guys that you've you played against in the time you've been in the league, who are some defensemen that you either like or hate going against?
Gosh, there's so many good D. Obviously he's on my team now, but I've always hated playing against Victor Hedman. He's one of those guys who's seems like you're 10 feet past him and he's still got the reach to get you, and he's just strong and he's a smooth skater. I tend to enjoy playing against the more skilled guys because I play a little bit more hard-nosed of games. So that's kind of in my wheelhouse. It's more the Shea Webbers and the guys with big bombs that I have to stand in front of on the penalty kill that I don't exactly enjoy. But the Drew Doughties, the Shea Webbers, the guys that are in your face and can bring some heat. I enjoy I guess Big Buff's not in the league anymore, but he was one that would stand out. I probably tried to run that guy 50 times, and I knocked him down once, and I think it's because I accidentally kicked his heels out. So just one of those guys that he feels like you're running into a brick house, but he was a good player.
Yeah. You've obviously talked about a lot of your memories, the call up, the first goal, the goal that you thought you scored in the game in Vancouver and things like that. How about some of the buildings you played in? What are some spots you really like to play in the league?
Oh, best spots to play in. A lot of fun ones. Nashville is a lot of fun. Chicago. Chicago's fun because every game's like 7-6, and it's just a madhouse there. But let's see. Dallas is an obvious one for me, just hometown. Yep. Although I've played horrendously there every time I've played in Dallas. I got the flu this year, so that was a great time. So I'm still waiting for my heyday in Dallas, but there's a lot of fun ones. Toronto, all the Canadian. The intro in Montreal is unbeatable. Nobody has a better intro to a game than Montreal. You know what? Vegas is actually probably top 3 for me. That's their production. It feels like you're in Omnia Club when you're warming up there. It's like I've never heard anything like it, and the fans embrace it there, and it's crazy. So Vegas is definitely up there. And then the home ranks, being at home is always scoring at home, everything at home, fighting at home, scoring at home. It's always a little bit more fun and a lot more adrenaline behind it.
Absolutely. You mentioned Chris Bergeron earlier, and he was large in recruiting you. I'll say this: I never played obviously in college, but I've done a lot of conference calls with Berge, and every time I get done, Blake, I want to put a uniform on and play. In my mediocre high school career, I want to go back. But anyway, more importantly, with him at the helm now, what do you think he brings to Miami hockey now that he's the head coach after replacing Rico after I mean, Rico was there for 20 years. It was odd for all of us this year to not see him on the bench. But it's the way the business goes. We know that. But what are your thoughts on Berge moving forward with your alma mater?
Yeah, I just, I know Berge mostly from the recruiting and just as on a friend level now. But from my understanding of Berge is that he gets it, man. He gets how to build a team that wins. He understands the value of having roles and having guys, embrace their roles. And I wasn't recruited to come in and score 20 goals a year. That was kind of it was a bonus that it ended up happening. But
right,
I was there to play a hard game, be hard to play against, compete. He sees that fire in guys, the Cody Murphys, just guys that are intangible guys that you can't replace. Everybody can go after the skilled guys. It's, that's not hard to do. I think it's finding those guys that make you a championship team that makes the difference. And I'm not sure how involved he is in the recruiting, but I'm sure he's got his say and the way that he wants his business run. You saw him at Bowling Green. He turned that program around. Even when I was at Miami, they were hell to play against, and that's typically a reflection of the coach. And I will say the other side that I've seen of him, and I know talking to guys that played for him as an assistant at Miami, is he also gets the grind. He gets he gets that you need the fun time and the time to bond as a team off the ice, away from the rink. So I think he understands the play side, and you need that side to just turn the mind off and get that part of it. But then he also demands, a high attention level and high attention to detail when you're at the rink. So he understands the balance. And I think that's an important thing that some coaches miss. It's just, they're so focused on showing up and working so hard every day. And they just they don't want to give that side away from the rink. It's actually funny. I was watching that Michael Jordan documentary.
Yeah.
Recently. And they have that Dennis Rodman piece. And they just, Bill Jackson, same way. He's like, Dennis was that guy. He needed to get away. He needed to just let loose and cut loose, and they let him do it. And once they finally got him back, he works his ass off, and he's leading the way. He's a dog, and he's balling out. So it's one of those things where he really gets that side of it, and I think that's why he's going to be very successful at Miami.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think that team and that program, excuse me, in a year or two they're going to be up at the top, competing in the top four of the NCHC, no doubt about it. You mentioned the Jordan thing. What else have you been able to watch? Obviously, you and your wife are raising an infant daughter. So, what are some good things you've watched during the times we've been in here, man?
Moana and Zootopia. And no, we've been we try to get on Netflix. It's usually half a show and fall asleep, but we tried the Tiger King thing. Just was all the rage for a while. Ozark. We just really haven't watched a whole lot of TV. We've been so busy, but
yeah,
we'll get there. I made time for the Jordan doc. I throw it on as I'm falling asleep, just because I love stories like that and following how great people's careers took form.
Yeah, my son and I have been doing, each week we've been doing a recap. Again, he's 19 or going to be 19 Monday, and it's interesting to hear a teenager, when all he's heard is LeBron's the greatest ever, LeBron's the greatest, and nothing against LeBron, but Michael Jordan, to me, is the greatest basketball player that ever lived. I don't know where you're at on
that. It's hard. I think generations are hard to compare, but I remember watching MJ when I was really young, and he's all I heard about, and obviously the way he turned himself into a brand too, it sticks into your head. But I would love to see them, in their primes going head to head. I don't know enough about the game of basketball to make my opinion, but either way, they're both, superheroes out there and a ton of fun to watch.
Yeah. Well, Blake, can't thank you enough, man. It's great to see you. It's only been 5 years, and I'm really happy for you and your family, and congratulations again to you and your wife on the young baby and the daughter. And hope everything continues to go great for you. We'll be following your career, and go Lightning.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on. Stay safe. It's been good to talk to you.
You too, Blake. That's Blake Coleman of the Tampa Bay Lightning joining us here on this episode of No Holding Back. Until next time, Ben Holden. We'll see you with an all-new edition. Take care.
You've been listening to the No Holding Back podcast. For the latest news around minor league hockey, download the Sin Bin app, now available in the Google Play and Apple app stores.